Hello, hello, beautiful people. I am so glad that you can join me for this online essential oils class today. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Tautari and I am a holistic health coach working mostly with women. I'm also an educator. I'm a wellness advocate with Doterra International. I'm also a wife, a mama, a dog mama, because let's face it, my two dogs are way more needy than my 13-year-old son. And what I'm here to share with you today is to help you understand what essential oils are, how you can use them in your life, why I personally recommend Doterra over other brands of essential oils that are out there. And I'll also share with you some information on the essential oils themselves. And how you can use them in your everyday life. I love talking a little bit, giving you some tips on how you can use them and integrate them into your everyday life in terms of your holistic health, your wellness, and your, for some people particularly as well, it's something that they connect to a bit of a spiritual side in their daily lives. And so really, then I like to also talk a little bit more at the end as well about why I'm here talking to you about them, in this environment, rather than you just wandering into any old store down the road and buying them from there. So let's dive in, shall we? Really, I'd like to start by telling you a bit about my story when it comes to essential oils. It starts when I was pretty young, really. I grew up traveling all over the world through my parents' work, and we were living mostly in developing nations, so a lot in the Middle East, in Africa, Southeast Asia, and in the Pacific. And in our house, we were very integrated into traditional Eastern medicines. It was something we experienced a lot, and we had things like rain sticks in just about every room of the house. We were always collecting secondhand clothes or goods to send away to places like Afghanistan or Cambodia. And I remember that we had also these CDs. Remember the days of CDs? And we would always have them playing in the background, and there would be things like the sounds of the rainforest, or super woo-woo, and it was always very connected to nature and just alternative customs and practices. And anyways, there would always be some sort of oil burner, incense oil burner going somewhere. And I can remember lavender always being put on me at night to help me sleep and things like that. So I was very aware, and I was quite cracked open to the powerful way essential oils can easily form part of your day-to-day wellness practice. I drifted away from them once I left home, to be honest, but came back to them eventually, as you can now tell, when I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism and adrenal fatigue. And it's a long story, but essentially I hit a wall health-wise after not putting myself first, and I'd let myself get completely burnt out. And what was part of my healing approach for myself was to look at holistic alternatives for supporting my thyroid health, rather than diving straight into what was a little bit scary for me in terms of synthetic thyroid replacements. And that was just my personal decision for where I was at with my health, and being in the, I guess, fortunate position that I could explore some alternatives. And a huge part of not only changing for me what was my diet, my lifestyle, exercise factors, that I dove into a lot of removing what are known as endocrine disruptors. And that was something I worked on to remove things mostly like what's classically your perfumes, fragrance products, synthetic chemical sprays, cleaners, etc. So really that's what brings me full circle to becoming a wellness advocate with Doterra. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the video, but I just wanted to give you a bit of a picture of my story and where I've come from to get here to be talking to you. So let's get into some oils, shall we? Where should we start? So I really wish when I could crack open this beautiful bottle of peppermint oil that you can smell the goodness going on in this bottle right now. You know, everyone that tries these oils for the first time is always really blown away by the beautiful smell, how incredible they are and the quality of them. So I'm going to try and do my best to describe them as best I can for you so that you at least get a little bit of that experience by being here with me and watching this video, hey? So peppermint, right? When we open this one, smell, and you know, it really alivens and it awakens as some of its main properties. The notes in there are really incredible. I love it. I use it a lot. So anyway, let's talk a bit, going back one step, about what essential oils are, for those of you who maybe aren't so familiar or a bit confused. So what they are is they are the most pure form of distillation from plants. So they are around 50 to 70 times more potent than the plant that they originally came from. So for example, when you've got a 15 ml bottle of peppermint oil here, it's got over 250 drops inside. So each drop as well has the properties of about 28 cups of peppermint tea. And if you're looking at it from a herbal perspective, and so, you know, you get the picture. These are beautiful, powerful, natural plant-derived oils. And that's what's so incredible about Mother Nature. You know, she's bloody incredible. What she creates, the plant compounds that are used are held either within the flower or the leaf or the root of the plant or the bark even as well. So they're the most pure extract from that. And when it's coming from an area like the root or the bark, the oil will be coming from the sap usually. And this is the case with lovely little frankincense here, that comes from the sap, but we'll talk a little bit about that one specifically later too. And so what Mother Nature does is she equips her plant world with these mechanisms that allow them to protect themselves, to heal themselves, ward off from being diseased or eaten, and essentially from illness, right? And in the kingdom of plants, that's what they've got all these self-internal mechanisms for. Which, by the way, if you haven't watched, David Attenborough did a series at Kew Gardens in the UK a few years ago called The Kingdom of Plants, and I definitely recommend watching that. I totally geeked out on plant-based knowledge watching that series. It was incredible, and the footage is amazing of things growing and all the different ways that they interact with each other. So anyway, getting back on track, essential oils, right? So really in our traditional medicine, essential oils have been used for those exact same purposes as I was just talking about with the plants, and for human beings as well. So it's not newfangled theory or science. It's really been used for thousands of years now. And it's really exciting for me, I think, to see a resurgence in our community of people who are looking at their well-being from a holistic point of view and moving towards everyday holistic health support, you know, that comes from a place of reconnecting to nature and natural solutions. I think it's amazing. So essential oils are a really great alternative to some current or Western conventional medicines. Bearing in mind an alternative, one of the main things to really understand is that they're not designed to replace our conventional medicine. We are simply taking or building a holistic experience using the power of essential oils, and we're balancing out that against the medicines that we do need to take from a more conventional healthcare perspective. And when we look at it like this, it becomes clear that our essential oils are a really affordable part of building a more holistic approach to our well-being And it's basically building our first aid kit for the home, our spiritual toolkit, our well-being toolkit, if you like, which I think personally is really awesome for the work I do with holistic health coaching. So what I like to focus on, and what I kind of want to talk to you about on this video particularly, is focusing on what is known as the Home Essentials Kit, because I think that it's a really neat way to look at all those tools that you can use for your, first aid, spiritual well-being, holistic health. So it's really everything you need when you're looking also to get started with essential oils, or you're looking to arm yourself with a really good all-rounder sort of collection. So I'm going to start talking to you now about the 3 ways that you can use essential oils in your life. And these are aromatically, topically, and food additive. So the first way you can use them is to inhale them aromatically. And now the amazing thing about this is, so this is a diffuser. And what you do is you pop a few drops of your essential oil into the diffuser. And the one that I am talking about here in this video is a Doterra Petal Infused Diffuser. And this comes as part of your Home Essentials kit that we're focusing on, stumbling over my words. And this is what is called a nebulizing diffuser. Now, I know that sounds super scientific, so bear with me. And it really means nothing until you know what that means. So essentially a nebulizing diffuser, what it does with the water inside it, it shakes or vibrates the water very, very quickly and rapidly over the top of the nebulizer part in the center, which you can see is like a little circle in the middle. And you fill that chamber with water, just regular tap water, and then you add a few drops of whichever essential oil or blend of oils that you want to use. Now, I pretty much add frankincense to mine all the time because I'm obsessed, and so that's what I'm doing today while I'm talking to you. I'm obsessed. It's like the oil for my soul, I reckon. Anyway, so with your diffuser, there are a few different settings with the Petal diffuser. There is 2 hours or there is 4 hours. And other types of diffusers that Doterra have longer time settings. They're up to about 10 hours or so, and you can pop them on at home or at work, in your workspace, and you can just have it running in the background happily doing its own thing. I can remember for when I was younger and we would have essential oils around the house in the little burners with the tea light candles underneath, and you'd always find the candle had burned out, or the oil had evaporated too quickly and it wasn't doing anything anymore, or I ended up spilling hot wax and making a mess. And yeah, no, diffusers are definitely the way to go now. That's what I would recommend. And so they run off mains power, which is also really incredible. So you've not got any batteries or fiddly things like that to worry about, because I know that drives me insane when things with batteries run out. And it's also got this really sweet little light on it that you can put on. My son loves it, even though he's 13 and way too cool for everything. I put it in his bedroom at night when he's reading, and he loves that light on it. And having some lavender going around his bedroom, it just really is so incredible for being able to use for someone like him. So that's what I do at night times anyway. And so as the nebulizer starts releasing all the vapor with your essential oils, you start to inhale the oils and their molecule properties. And so you breathe it in through your nose and mouth. The molecules start to interact with the olfactory nerves, which essentially is the first or primary nerve that's related to smell. And so they then move on to reach our limbic system, which is involved with our motivation, our emotions, our learning abilities, and our memory function. And it's essentially what is known as our emotional brain. And this helps to do things like control our blood pressure, our heart rate, our mood, and of course our emotional state too, right? So just take a moment to consider from what I've just been saying. I know I've given you heaps of info already, so we're going to pause for a moment. And, I've shown you this little guy, this beautiful bottle of frankincense oil, right? And I wish you could smell this right now, I really do. Anyway, so think about this little beautiful bottle of frankincense oil. Mother Nature has given us the most beautiful natural distilled molecules, and they're now diffusing all around me in the air. I've been inhaling them while I've been talking to you. They've been going up into my brain and my bloodstream. And now think of it like when I mentioned before earlier about my story and all of those situations in the day where you were inhaling non-natural or synthetic compounds, and that process that I explained that I went through of trying to get rid of as many of those from my life as I possibly could. You know, think about that situation where you are next to that woman who is wearing super heavy perfume in the supermarket checkout line and you can't get away from it. You know, the car exhaust fumes while you're standing at the traffic lights waiting to cross the road. You know, you go around to your grandma's house or someone's house and they've got one of those little synthetic plug-in, you know, air fresheners, right? That's spritzing away. The hand sanitizer that's at the reception desk at your kid's school. You know, you might even be thinking now about the things that you've got in your own home that come kind of under those categories and that you're breathing in all the time. That are, you know, essentially they're of a non-organic material nature, right? So we've just been talking about how we inhale molecules in the air and what they do. They go into our olfactory system and then into our emotional brain. And think about, say, you know, when you see these ads on TV for like these plug-in air fresheners for the home, they're forever being pumped and promoted, right? And they're in all the supermarket aisles and they're spritzing away all this synthetic chemical scent into the air every 20 minutes or whatever it is during your day. And of course you're inhaling all that chemical and it's going into your brain and your bloodstream. And, you know, think about when we've got a beautiful organic compound, you know, like an essential oil, how these can affect us in a positive way with our mood and our well-being. So what on earth are the synthetic, you know, non-natural, potentially toxic molecules doing to your health and well-being from the inside that you can't even really identify or see? So in my line of work with holistic health coaching, I work a lot with women who are looking at those environmental toxins and ways that they can really be adversely affecting their health and well-being, you know, their emotions, their moods. So I'd really encourage you to think about how those sorts of chemicals and toxins in your day-to-day environment or your family's day-to-day environment could be affecting you and your family in ways that you maybe haven't even considered before, because it was certainly something that I probably hadn't put a lot of thought into prior to learning that I had hypothyroidism and really having to sit down and analyze. I just assumed I was living a really healthy life. And once I actually sat and looked into it and paid attention, there were so many ways that things were creeping in that I hadn't even really thought about. And so it was fantastic to get rid of those. And I'm all for a toxin-free environment now in my own day-to-day life. It's been something that I'm constantly actively working on. You know, I'll find a spray bottle of something somewhere and go, oh God, got to get rid of that, you know, because it's been sitting at the back of the cupboard somewhere for ages. And you know, if not completely toxin free, then I'm all for, as far as possible, going low tox in my day-to-day life wherever I can. So essential oils are an enormous part of that for me, and there's such an emotional connection to me that, you know, I just love them to bits, and that's why I'm really passionate about them. So anyway, that covers the aromatic part of this talk. So now, second way that you can experience the beautiful benefits of your essential oils is that we can use them topically on our skin. So there are some essential oils that are really gentle. They can be applied directly to your skin, and as we've covered, essential oils are very potent, being that pure extracted form of plants. So for example, what can I hold up here for you? Things like lavender, where's my tea tree? Tea tree oil, and going back to frankincense as well. You know, these can be used neat, straight from the bottle onto your skin. Many people don't need to use some sort of dilution or carrier oil with these, although definitely err on the side of caution. Test them out for yourself first, and definitely make sure that if you're ever using them for children that you do dilute. That is one area where you do need to always make sure to dilute them down. And so talking about dilution, a really good place to start is that we recommend diluting with a carrier oil. And so what that can then be put into to use it in your day-to-day life, putting it topically onto your skin, is what is known as a rollerball applicator that looks like one of these bottles, and just on the top is like a little roller so that you can easily apply it just by rolling it on. So what you can do is that you can use carrier oils such as organic rosehip oil, for example, an argan oil, jojoba oil, one that Doterra actually stocks in its online store, which makes it really easy for ordering it at the same time as your oils and not having to double up, because I am also about efficiency in my busy life. And it works really well for me. It's called Fractionated Coconut Oil. And now basically all that means is that the coconut oil stays in a liquid state, which is what you need, obviously, for being able to roll them on. And if you live somewhere like I do, where it gets a bit cooler, you will know that your coconut oil comes in solid form most of the time, because it's just the temperature here keeps it solid. And side note, I always know whether we've had a really warm summer or not, because when I go to cook with my big tub of coconut oil that I've got on top of my fridge, if it's melted, I know that we've had a really awesome hot day. So that's kind of my little gauge of how good summer is going. And so for making up your rollerball that's diluted down your essential oils, what you would do is you would put in, say, 5 drops of your essential oil or the blend that you want to use, and then top it up with the carrier oil that you're going to use, and then you're good to go. That's all there is. And so it's really simple and easy. And then what you can do is you can apply it to a few different places on your body. The main places to obviously steer away from when you are applying it straight to your skin would be your eyes, obviously, your ears, sometimes your armpits can be a bit of a sensitive area, and of course down below in your private parts, because from all accounts, when people have got it wrong, it burns. It really does burn. It's not very pleasant, so, you know, just avoid those areas. And one of, you know, the best things about the high quality of these oils is that, you know, a little goes a bloody long way. Simply using 5 drops of these oils, you know, they're going to have a positive effect on your body. There doesn't need to be a whole lot used. They're really potent, they're really strong, and they're beautiful in the quality. And I'm going to talk about that a bit more in a while. So whether you are using them for physical, emotional support, spiritual support, essentially the oils start to take effect within 22 minutes of applying them to your skin, which I think is flippin' amazing. For example, if you rub them on your temples, if you wait 22 minutes, it's reached every single cell in your body and your bloodstream and your brain, which just blows my mind. Body is incredible, right? And so I find it really fascinating. And anyway, putting on your essential oil, for example, before bed, a really good place that you can apply it is the soles of your feet, because you've got thousands and thousands of little blood vessels, and so it uptakes the essential oil properties really easily. Not so good for during the day if you're going out wearing sandals or things like that, but obviously you can try it out and see what you think. I often do it if I'm working at home in my home office. I might put it on the soles of my feet while I'm sitting there, because I'm not wandering around, I'm just sitting working. Another good place to apply topically is actually your spine. And for example, before my son heads off to school, I will usually pop on some essential oil blends onto his spine for him, because to help support with his things like asthma, he gets a bit of anxiety as well, and so we use ones depending on how he's going. And it's a really good spot for him as well, because being a boy, He's not then going to go and like itch around his face or his temples and then rub his eyes, you know, and you know what boys are like, right? So just putting it on his spine and he can get into his school uniform and then it's all done and it's sorted, and I know it's going to be really efficiently kind of uptaken by his body. So it works really well for us. So just to recap for you, because that's a lot of information in the last 20 minutes or so, the 3 ways that you can really use and benefit from these beautiful oils is aromatically through using your essential oil diffuser or inhaling them straight from the bottle, for example. Topically being number 2, through direct skin application or flavoring food. So obviously I've been talking a lot at you, but I've also been mentioning the name Doterra quite a bit in this video. And so I just wanted to kind of take a moment to explain a little bit about myself and my business that I run with Doterra, you know, hand in hand. So when I first started out with the Doterra essential oils, I had been an essential oil junkie for years, really. I grew up obviously in a house full of essential oils and I was very familiar with them. It was a familiar concept to me to use them in your day-to-day life. Using something natural and organic was really, you know, I was already cracked open to that idea of how you can support your health and holistic health wise. But really I had been relying on just picking up the odd oil here and there when I saw them, or I remembered to grab one if I had run out of it. I was never very intentional about restocking or buying essential oils. I was just like a magpie going and getting whatever I could find. And I certainly had zero idea of how, where, when, who, essentially what was going into that oil that was being made that I was then buying, right? And certainly no real consideration for how pure the oil was. That was something that I didn't really think about, or even the conditions that the oil was being made in and for the people who were making that oil were working in, for example. And in my life as a whole, I am very conscious about where everything comes from. I'm a bit of a minimalist at heart, and so I look at my food, my clothing, my beauty products. So it really didn't sit right with me that I was not applying that same principle to the essential oils that were in my life, right? And so I had connected with this beautiful soul, Missy, who runs Essential Araha, who I met up with for a cuppa with one day locally here. And she was able to talk me through all the beautiful aspects about Doterra specifically and how it has changed her life. And I ended up choosing this kit that I'm talking about with you in the video, the Home Essentials kit from Doterra. And basically once it arrived, you know, I was like hanging out for it to arrive on the courier, and I dove straight in and basically just while I was waiting, I researched the hell out of all the products and the company, watched heaps of videos and read heaps of blog posts. And I really was living and breathing the oils themselves once they did arrive, because I wanted to make sure, you know, they were as good as I believed they were, right? And I was, to be honest, I was even more blown away than I expected to be once I had heard and read a bit more about the Doterra organization. You know, there's a real value in me being able to sit here and educate you about the essential oils and all their wonderful properties and the holistic health aspect, but there's a much bigger conversation that I feel is really important as well, and that's to do with that supply chain, moving backwards from the point where the essential oil arrives with the courier on your doorstep, like it did for me. And, you know, being able to know that conscious process behind not only the growing, but the harvesting, the processing, the working conditions of the people, etc. So what Doterra has is called a co-impact sourcing model. And essentially what that means is that they source their oils from the place in the world where that plant thrives and grows the most naturally. So for example, with frankincense here, you know, this is either from Oman or Somalia. For example, your lavender oil is usually from France or Bulgaria. Vetiver oil is usually from Haiti. Wintergreen is usually from Nepal. And lemongrass is usually from Sri Lanka. So the list goes on. There's about 46 different locations around the world where the essential oils come from. And over half of those countries are actually developing nations because of the nature of where those products grow. They just happen to be developing nations as well. And so what that sourcing model allows Doterra to do is to be able to make sure that there are sustainable jobs and reliable income for those local communities where the oils are being sourced from around the world, which I think is incredible. And they also will not go in and support environments or locations where that process doesn't support the people and who are producing the product at the end of the day. And I know for me personally, that sits really nicely in my soul that I'm supporting a beautiful organization like that looks after the people who are at the heart of what they're producing and distributing around the world to people who are passionate about their oils, but also are able to be confident in the fact that it's not supporting a process that isn't all about the people at the end of the day and the environment at the end of the day. They also have a charitable organization that's known as Healing Hands, the Healing Hands Foundation. And basically what this does is it goes in and it empowers impoverished communities to help millions of people around the world, and that helps them to create opportunities within their own communities. So through Healing Hands, for example, in recent times, Doterra have been able to go into places like Nepal after the devastating earthquake there. And there was a whole lot of schools that collapsed and tragically killed a lot of the students that were at school. Doterra went in and with Healing Hands, and they built 2 brand new earthquake-proof schools, donated all the school desks and supplies, and they also were able to go in and build temporary homes for a lot of the farmers that had been supplying to Doterra oils as well. And in addition to that trip, there were a lot of wellness advocates just like myself that went along and actually volunteered their time and their hands on the ground to be part of that process. And now what I want to point out as well is that Healing Hands is not only a not-for-profit organization, but I know that in many instances around the world, unfortunately, the term not-for-profit has got a bit muddied because organizations can essentially call themselves a not-for-profit, but you end up with a CEO who's being paid, you know, a couple of $1 million, and you really don't know how effectively that money that is being generated or donated is being distributed to the cause that not-for-profit is supposedly saying that they're helping. So basically the way Healing Hands works is that it's very transparent. They want to be clear about where that money is going, and so 100% of the donations to Healing Hands goes into the project. So for example, when a wellness advocate does go into take part in one of these assistance projects, they pay their own way. And then the money that they raise on top of that separately goes 100% into the project. So I think that's a really beautiful thing, and I love that it's clear and it's easy to understand that that is what is going on. So anyway, we digress, right? Back to the essential oils, but sorry if I went on a little bit there, but I do, it's something that I really believe, and I'm really conscious and passionate about sharing with you why I've partnered with this company, because I think that's an important part to actually talk about. So going back to the oils themselves, the fact that they are certified pure therapeutic grade means basically that they've all got this little trademark on them, and I want to find one here to show you that does. So it's got its trademark Doterra label, and what it basically means is that there isn't a single governing body that can legally put a qualification or certification on an essential oil that comes from a collective of, say, 40 different countries, right? For example, you know, our laws are very specific to the place where those products are created and then distributed. So if something is certified organic in the US, for example, and then is imported to Australia, it can't actually be certified organic because of the different regulations and the different rules. And the same in, say, for example, in the UK, certification varies between different regions, and it's kind of that same process all over the world. So what Doterra wanted to be able to do is assure the customer, and also for wellness advocates like me, that these oils are 100% free of toxins, pesticides, herbicides, additives, etc. So one of the reasons that they do this pure therapeutic grade certification is so that they can continue to source from where the plant thrives and is indigenous to as much as possible, and then it not only improves the therapeutic grade of that oil because it's not being grown in artificial conditions, irrigated, given false lighting, you know, things like that. It really improves the grade of the oil that is then extracted from that plant. And so what they do as well is that Doterra goes even further, which is incredible, right? And so a lot of essential oil companies will actually internally audit. And so basically what that means is that they're paying one of their own staff members to audit themselves for the to ensure that their oil is free of any nasties, but it's their own employee. Whereas Doterra, they hire external auditors, and they come in and batch test the quality of their Doterra essential oils, and that basically makes sure that there's always an assurance that it is free of chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, additives. And if anything does come up, you know, they won't sell that oil at the end of the day. And this does happen, you know, that an oil will be taken out of circulation for sale and it disappears for a while. And it's happened with something like frankincense. And so that's where Doterra are really committed to making sure that the purity of the oils is first and foremost for their customers as well. So there's also an incredible resource, just quickly, that's called source2u.com, and there are batch numbers on the essential oils from Doterra, and you can pop that in the website and you can check essentially the assessment of that batch of oil, which, how incredible is that? That's an enormous amount of effort to get something like that in place worldwide. Just blows my mind, but really shows how committed Doterra are to the assurance for everyone using them that they are what they say they are. So now we're going to go and we are going to talk specifically about each of the oils in the Home Essentials kit. So let me just get comfortable here. Right, so we're going to jump back to talk about peppermint here. Now, it is so cooling. Beautiful menthol smell. You can feel that it's a respiratory oil. From an emotional perspective, this is oil of joy and buoyant heart. If you want to know what it's all about. And you can really feel it when you inhale this one. It's very obvious. What's interesting when it comes to our physical or emotional response to essential oils is that, you know, some people think it's a bit woo-woo or a bit out there that you can just smell an essential oil and it can change your emotional state. But think about something as simple as, like, you can be having a really crappy day and you can go to the gym and you can change your physical state, and that improves your mental state. And the same goes with the way essential oils work for us and our amazing, incredible human being bodies. So our heads benefit from these essential oils as much as our holistic health does. And so peppermint, as well, as some of you might know, is really good for our bowel, supporting our bowels, our gut health. It can be really useful for supporting people who are suffering from IBS or autoimmune conditions. Really interestingly, it's good supporting for if you've had sunburn. You can put it in a spray bottle with, say, some lavender and some oil. And you can squirt it, and squirt it on your sunburn. It's got a cooling property to it, which helps. Of course, for kids, make sure you dilute it. Say 1 or 2 drops in a roller bottle with a carrier oil, and then you can just rub it all around their tummies if they've got a sore tummy. And you know, you can also use it for something like focus if you want to add that into your diffuser with some lemon oil or frankincense. You know, it's really good for that as well. Now, where's my lavender oil we're going to talk about next, which is beautiful. It's probably one you've heard of if you're not that familiar with essential oils. And this one is your mama's best friend for you mamas out there. It's really going to be your best friend. It's basically a sedative for your children. It's also a neuroprotector, and it's good for supporting headaches. You can apply it to your temples or your spine. It's also an adaptogenic herb, which basically means that it helps your system with supporting your body to be calm and relaxed. Really good for your skin too. That's why you see it often used in skincare creams, so you can make up your own if you've got these at home. You can make up your own little lotions, potions, creams. Also anti-aging, supportive for things like eczema, dermatitis, flaking scalp, using on cuts and scrapes directly. So a really good part of your natural holistic health first aid kit. And a really good one to use on your kids because it is a gentle oil, so you can use it straight. So, you know, really good all-rounder and a first aid kit must have, really. Use it in a diffuser at bedtime in your bedroom, your kid's bedroom, or use it, add it to, say, a blend of other oils that you want to use as a perfume, because it's got that beautiful floral aspect to it. So next on my little stand here, we've got some beautiful lemon oil, one of my favorites. And now this is really good for you to use on those busy days, you know. It's really excellent for helping you learn and for supporting learning disorders. If you feel like you are struggling to learn something, it's the oil of focus, which I sometimes need when I've got 1,000 things on my to-do list. From an emotional perspective, it's great if you are, say, studying, or your kids are studying, going to school. It's supportive for calming any fears or anxiety or insecurities. It's got that beautiful, fresh, clean smell to it that you would expect from cutting open a lemon. It honestly smells like cutting open a fresh lemon. It's an antioxidant, used in a lot of detoxes, obviously, with lemon. And what I do is I add 1 drop to my, every morning I have warm water with apple cider vinegar, and I'll add 1 drop of this to that. And I drink that every day, first thing on an empty stomach. Really fantastic for your no-tox home solution and your no-tox environment toolkit, because you can use it around the house. You can add things like bicarbonate soda and a few drops of that in a jar with a cloth over the top, and then it's like an odor eater that you can put in cupboards or in your kids' shoes. You can fill a spray bottle, say, with water and a bit of vinegar, and then add things like your lemon oil, a few drops, your oregano oil, your tea tree oil, and then you can use that as, like, say, a stovetop cleaner or your bench top spray down. So it's beautiful for doing things like that. Now, next on the list, we've got tea tree, or as it's known in a lot of other countries, Melaleuca. Now, this is probably the most incredible all-rounder of our essential oils, and particularly in the home essentials kit. It's very bold, it's very fragrant. For a lot of people, they often associate it with first aid. I reckon this Doterra tea tree just smells so much more beautiful than a lot of other tea trees that I have used in my life over the years. Sometimes they can have a really sort of unpleasant sharpness to them, but this one's actually got really beautiful floral aspects to it. This is one that hands down is perfect for, say, bites, scratches, lumps, bumps, treating fungal things, supporting fungal things, gum disease, bad breath. You know, the list goes on. There are so many things that you can do. It's it's another one that's all the antis, antibacterial, antimicrobial, etc. And it's similar in the sense with that oregano oil that we talked about earlier, that it's got those same sort of antibacterial properties essentially. Tea tree is one of the more gentle oils to bear in mind, because when you compare it to the oregano oil, that if you put this direct on your skin, it will burn. But nearly everybody can handle tea tree oil direct topically onto their skin undiluted, but the oregano will burn. Just fun fact for you there. Now, what you can do is essentially you can stock your natural first aid kit, and that allows you to be empowered to know that you don't always have to use something like a Savlon cream, for example, for cuts and scrapes and bruises. You know, bruises and cuts, and we, you know, for example, in our own home, we use our lemon oil for surfing scrapes, because both Darren, my partner, and Amaru, they go out surfing, and so when they come home and they've grazed themselves when they're out surfing and they've hit the reef, you know, we can just pop a drop of our lemon essential oil onto that, and you know, it's just really letting you know that there are alternatives to things that perhaps you have kind of just been told along the way that you have to use in your life. You can use things like putting a fabric band-aid over a cut and then just adding the essential oil to the top of the fabric, and it will seep through and it will work its magic that way and support the healing. Okay, anyway, back to oregano just quickly. So this is actually, we talked before how powerful it is, but this is actually fantastic for being a support for your immune system. So things like sinus issues, the flu, you know, those bugs where you just can't get out of bed, you can't eat. You can put something like a teaspoon of coconut oil and put a drop of that on it, and you can swallow that down, or say honey or a shot of warm water. And that just has fantastic anti-parasitic support for your body. You can also inhale it. You can say add it to easy air or something like that as a really strong decongestant as well. Now we're going to jump to frankincense. Yeah, my mate Frankincense. I'm so in love with this oil. I personally think that this is going to be the one that you will run out of the most. But you'll see when you get it. If you get it, you are going to see. And what is beautiful about this oil is it actually has a really incredible story about where it comes from as well. It comes from the sap of the tree, and the farmers in either Oman or Somalia, they slice the tree to harvest the sap, and then what they actually do is they allow it to be cleansed by the moon before they come back to harvest it. And I just think that is such a beautiful way to look at creating something that we can then enjoy in this bottle over here in New Zealand. And so many people have heard of frankincense as, say, a holy oil. It's known as the oil of light and truth, and it certainly used to be valued as high as gold. And it's just beautiful. I love it. I wasn't sure when I first heard frankincense how I would feel, because I thought it would be really something old-fashioned and that I wouldn't like, but I'm obsessed. I wear it all the time as just a perfume, really. And it also has powerful immune support properties, and that's also another thing that I think is really fantastic for someone like myself that's wanting to support hypothyroidism. And it's actually had lots of research that's been quite incredible into how it can support inflammation in, you know, the brain. It's got incredible research has gone into how it can support people with mental illness, memory improvement, inflammation. I think it's very, very cool. So moving on from those pure essential oils that I've just talked about. So we also have in the Home Essentials Kit 4 of the most popular blends that Doterra create, and these are all made by Doterra scientists who blend them specifically for either emotional or physical support. So the first one I'm going to show you is called Easy Air, and I think I mentioned that a couple of times. And now it's also called Breathe in other parts of the world. beautiful, beautiful, and it's one of our daily go-tos at home. It's a really good one for putting in your diffuser. It is a respiratory specific blend, and so it's got a combination of oils like your eucalyptus, laurel leaf, peppermint, and it's really useful for supporting, say, kids who struggle with asthma. The menthol content is actually balanced out to be safe around kids, because sometimes certain levels can actually be not good for having around young ones and toddlers. And so basically really excellent for using, say, in the home for things like stuffy noses, if you're having problems inhaling. I use it daily for my son. He really struggles with allergies and has had quite bad asthma in the past. And so he's usually waking up, he's used to have runny noses all the time and sneezing and coughing fits in the morning particularly. So what we do is we diffuse it in his room quite early on in the morning as he's getting out of bed, and then I will do it again late at night with the lavender that I mentioned earlier as well for him in the diffuser. So then Digest Zen, which I think is also called Zen Jest, possibly in Europe and the UK. And so I've already touched on this one. It's got an incredible physical sort of response that you can have, known to be really soothing for the stomach, digestive distress, support digestive health. For kids, again, perfect if you dilute it and just put it in a roller bottle, and you can actually just rub it on their tummies, and that will do the trick for them. Now, lovely little On Guard here. This has got beautiful scents to it. It's like wild orange, clove is really strong in there, cinnamon notes. It's a really beautiful kind of spicy aroma, which I like. And it is actually an immune and a respiratory blend. Helps to guard against environmental threats, hence why it's called On Guard. And it's a really great oil to have in kind of your home toolkit for, say, you know, those times of year or times in your life when you know there's lots of germs around, there's a bit of a bacteria overload going on. You know, like the things where the kids get in the car and they've got really dirty hands. What you can actually do is make up a spray bottle, say like a little pump top one, with some of your vinegar, water, On Guard, and then use it just as like a little sanitizer spray for them, so when they get in the car to wipe down their hands. And it's also a great one to have on hand, say when you're traveling, because if it gives you that support against all that sort of foreign bacteria and germs that your body might not be used to or have defenses against. So this is a really good one to use for supporting that as well. Now, Ice Blue is in the little 5 ml bottle here, so it's smaller than the other ones. And basically this is, think of a deep heat. And so basically it's got, its most prominent fragrance is the wintergreen essential oil that's in there in the blend. And it's just one that you can really use as a support for sore joints, aches, ligament issues, tightness in the body. So it's like a muscle rub pretty much, or a body rub that you can use for alleviating when you've got those sore bits in your body. Really good if you like sitting in an office chair all day and you get that kind of like tension across here. You can use that on yourself really easy. So like I've said, I'm such a big fan of basically removing as many of those toxins or environmental toxins, the fragrances, the synthetic additives from your life. And so it's not about still purchasing everything that you currently purchase for your home, and like your sprays and your cleaners that you may or may not currently have, and then adding on top of that the cost of buying essential oils. It's really where I'm coming from, is that what you're doing is investing in your health and the well-being of your family by replacing out those items that you used to buy. And that's why really for me, I continue to work with people to educate around that aspect of using essential oils as part of that holistic health to holistic approach to your health. So I just wanted to spend a few more moments helping explain why it's someone like me who is sitting here talking to you about these oils, because I know it can seem a bit confusing, especially when it's in the online world and it's something you're unfamiliar with. And people have these ideas about, marketing scams, because a few assholes sometimes rip someone off, and it's really frustrating, but it's the way it is. And so that's why I like to spend a bit of time just explaining that, for example, your big companies and corporations around the world, right? They spend billions of dollars every year on their marketing to, reach people like you through radio, through TV, through online ads, through sports team sponsorship, the list goes on, right? They're always in your face and they spend billions of dollars on it. And that's essentially just to get the message about their product in front of your eyes. Now, whereas Doterra is different because they invest their marketing spend that they could potentially use in people like myself, a wellness advocate who is basically just a passionate essential oils user and lover. And I am loving just educating people about the benefits and the power of essential oils. And so this allows women just like me, a lot who have young kids at home, or they run already a successful wellness business, for example, allows us to have a small business that is being supported by an incredible company like Doterra. And they pay a commission to someone like me who can then basically spend time educating people just like you about the oils and about the different ways that you can use them. And the way that the oils get sold is only through education and sharing. So it's by offering advice or support to people, etc. I don't personally sell anybody a bottle of essential oil, but what I do share is the education, the inspiration, ultimately just sharing that passion about holistic health and wellness and the oils themselves. And so it's really simple. It comes from a place of a heart-centered business, which is what I bloody love and I'm all about. So I just wanted to touch on that. And I think back about all the years that I just randomly bought oils from a local store, or when I happened to see them, I never went home and then received any follow-up on how I was going with the oil, or checking if I knew how to use it properly, or that I needed to maybe dilute that oil, And so the beauty of the Doterra system is that I am always here to support people and keep on educating them after you receive your order of Doterra oils. So you have direct contact for free with a person who can keep supporting you, which is incredible, right? And so in my case, for people who sign up for Doterra essential oils through me, they get my, email support, Facebook groups, videos like this, links to, interesting information or research, articles, and podcast recommendations that you can listen to specific about holistic health and essential oils. So it's a whole resource and community that's there for free, and I think that's really beautiful, and I think that's a beautiful ecosystem to be involved in. And especially when it comes to being able to trace the essential oil from your doorstep the moment you receive that package right back to the farmer, from where that essential oil is grown. And I think that's incredible. So there are two ways that you can purchase through Doterra. So the first one being that you choose an enrollment kit, which is, for example, the Home Essentials kit that I've talked to you about today. And all these oils that I've gone over are in that kit. And so it's aptly named, in my opinion. These oils cover all emotional, physical, first aid support. What you get are 9 of these 15 ml size bottles here. They're all 15 ml. And then the ice blue over here, I'll just show you, is the 5 ml size. So it's slightly smaller, but very powerful and incredible. And so when you go with an enrollment kit option, and there's a few different ones, what that essentially does is it you don't have to pay a membership fee, it waives that, and you also get 25% off any other oils that you choose to buy. So the most important part of that is that there's actually no obligation to buy anything else. If you are happy with your enrollment kit being, say, something like this Home Essentials kit, no obligation to get anything else. You can just sit with that, and that becomes your home-based toolkit and essential oils collection. And you've got your diffuser as well, which is beautiful. And so the second way is to pay a membership fee, and in New Zealand that is $40 for the whole year. I haven't actually got the exact amount for other countries on hand, but it basically just works out to be the equivalent exchange rate. So in Australia, for example, it's 35 Australian dollars. So I can't remember for the UK off the top of my head, it might be something like £20, I think. But, you know, for example, it all works out to be much the same once you've got the exchange rate factored in there. And so that way you pay that for the first year, and then your second year membership fee is actually less. But what you do get as well is a free essential oil. So that's pretty cool, in my opinion, because the oils are all roughly about $30 retail price. So I think that's pretty cool that you pay less and you get a free oil for your second year, basically just to say thank you for being part of Doterra. And what you get with that as well is you also get your 25% off all the oils, off the retail price of your oils. And the same applies here, that there is zero obligation to buy anything after you've done your membership fee and then chosen which oils you'd like to buy. That's it. There's zero obligation on you. You can, if you're happy with those, then that's fine. And so I think that's really incredible too. And so just jumping back quickly to the Home Essentials kit that I've been talking about. Like I mentioned, you get 10 oils plus a diffuser. And so the benefit of the enrollment kits really comes in the excellent discount you get for buying a kit altogether. So for example, my lovely little bottle of frankincense here, who is so precious and so incredible, retails for well over $100 just for a 15ml bottle, right? And so what you get is this plus 9 other oils and a diffuser. And the price of that in New Zealand is $365 if you are a Doterra wholesale customer. And so I think that it's just bloody brilliant, right? And so it's why I started with that option. I knew in my head that I wanted all the oils like your tea tree, your lavender, your peppermint, blah, 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 and I wanted a diffuser. So it was like Doterra had read my mind and just handed me everything in one neat little package for me to get together. So I thought it was pretty awesome. And there's another smaller version that is all basically the Home Essentials oil range, but all in this 5ml size. But the price of that, if you buy the Home Essentials kit, you get 3 times the amount of oils and a diffuser for less than twice the price. So it's kind of, for me, it was a no-brainer that I wanted the diffuser and to get 3 times the amount of oils for, you know, less than twice the price. I thought, yeah, that works really, really excellent for me. But, you know, there are so many different options to suit you, and that is what is also really beautiful about Doterra and the way it's all set up. So the other aspect that I'm going to touch on just quickly is that you get really incredible, amazing rewards for ordering and using Doterra essential oils, which basically helps you to build your collection. Say if you were to start with your Home Essentials kit and then add on other oils. You know, I can remember thinking about ones that I really used to love when I was younger. One particular one being for me that I absolutely love geranium, and I wear that quite often as a perfume as well. So what that basically is called is known as the Loyalty Rewards Program with Doterra, or LRP, you'll often hear it referred to as, and it's the best way to buy your oils basically, because you place an order every month with Doterra if you want to, and you get points back that increases from a starting point. It's like a sliding scale, so you start at 10% back at the start, and then after 13 months, that scale is slid all the way up to 30%, which is just like incredible, right? So by the end of that, you are actually, after 13 months, getting 55% off the retail price of your essential oils, which credit cards and things like that, you've got to spend like $20,000 to get like an $80 coupon for the supermarket or something. So I know, because I just got one the other day and I was so disappointed at how little money I got back for my points that I had saved on my credit card. Anyway, I totally digress. So with doTERRA oils, there's about 60 different oils that you can choose from that are just as single oils, like this one here. So there's a really beautiful whole range. If you want, you can start adding to on top of your enrollment kit without feeling like you're breaking the bank, and you can be investing in them really slowly, which is beautiful. I like to say also that this it really allows you that space and that opportunity to learn about the oils first through someone like me and the education and the community that I share. And so you can kind of get that opportunity to see which ones you might want to buy or might work for you. And that's one of the things that my role really helps to set you up with, is basically that advice, and helps you to manage your collection to suit yourself, basically. And that's really the beautiful thing about it, is, there's absolutely no obligation to buy regularly unless you want to be earning money as a business. And the only thing that I just want to make sure that anyone who might feel a little bit unsure about that's what, there is no obligation to keep buying. There's no regular order required. And that was one of the things, to be honest, that before I started with doTERRA, I had this little sense of unease about, that I thought I had heard something somewhere that you had to keep on buying, and that you were kind of locked in, but that's not the case at all. And it's really just a beautiful brand where you can use the oils to suit you, your lifestyle, and your family's lifestyle. And so that's something I'm really into as well. So for me personally, it really just comes down to the fact that, I love being part of something that is bigger than just me and myself. It's a lifestyle that supports holistic health. It's a company that supports people in developing nations, and it empowers people worldwide to support themselves, rather than just, say, dropping money in a community and then leaving, which often can sometimes happen with our not-for-profits in the developing world. It's educating people alongside that financial contribution, and it's empowering them, which is really important. It's also all about educating people on natural alternatives, and the process of being able to remove those environmental toxins from your home or your general environment every day. The list goes on. So I really hope that something here for you has resonated, and that you're feeling, just as pumped up about essential oils as I feel when I'm using them all the time. And so I just really encourage you that if you want to know more, ask me questions. I also provide a service of, I can jump on a free call with people wherever you are in the world. That's the beauty of it, is that even though I might be based in New Zealand, my team is international, and there are so many countries around the world where doTERRA ships to, so we can essentially communicate, support, educate from anywhere. The internet is a beautiful, wonderful creation, and I love using it to support the essential oils community. So I'm here to support you, and it's what I love to do. So I would encourage you to just email me, rosetautari@gmail.com. I'll put my email in the description section so you can find it really easily, or you can head over to my website, which is rosetautari.com, and then you can contact me from there, and really just, you can get more information or help on getting started if you're feeling like that's where you want to head, or if you're still kind of wanting to jump into learning a bit more about the essential oils, then make sure you're part of the Facebook group that we're building up, a beautiful community of like-minded women, and we're educating and chatting about essential oils, and that's called the Lotus Life community. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can search for that group on Facebook and join. So it's all so bloody exciting. And you know, I just celebrate you for being here right till the end of this video and for joining me today. So I really, really look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye.